Let's bring you right up to date with what is happening in Nepal and Tibet. Rescue teams are responding now to a massive flash flood in northern Nepal. It has swept away entire villages. At least 19 people are confirmed to have died, according to police. There are fears the number of casualties could rise. The Nepal Tourism Board is working to account for hundreds of travellers, they say, in the area. They are now saying over 380 travellers are currently missing, and most of them are foreigners. These pictures are from northern Nepal, where several people have been confirmed dead. Chinese state media we've been hearing from as well. They are reporting major casualties in Tibet too, and Nepal's foreign minister says preliminary information suggests an earthquake may have triggered an avalanche, then a subsequent flash flood, although this has not yet been verified. Well, let's bring you up to date. We can take you straight to our South Asia correspondent, Azadeh Mashiri, who joins us now from Delhi. Azadeh, firstly, what are you hearing both from the Nepalese authorities and also from the Chinese in Tibet?
We've been focusing on discussions with the Nepalese authorities, and they're saying that it's a race to save lives right now before night falls. And so helicopters have been deployed, including military helicopters. This is a remote area, hard to reach. It's in Rasua, which is north of Kathmandu, the capital of Nepal, and near the border with Tibet, as you mentioned. And so the true scale of the disaster, of the casualties, that's something we may not fully know until tomorrow or in the next few days, given how hard it is to reach there. Police have said they're struggling to reach dozens of their own officers, their team, and sadly, Nepal in this region is no stranger to deadly floods like these. Last year, a glacier burst on the Chinese side and 18 people died then. But in this case, officials fear that the casualties could be higher. And of course, there is that warning from Nepal's tourism board of hundreds of travelers that are currently unaccounted for, including more than 100 people from India and 12 from the United Kingdom.
And Azadeh, is it thought, or do we understand that it was an earthquake that then triggered this avalanche?
That's what they believe. They're still investigating this, so they have kept qualifying that. Initially, they thought that perhaps it was excessive snow melting into the Botekosi River, which flows from Tibet into Nepal. But now there has been this statement in Parliament that they believe an early morning earthquake triggered an avalanche, which in turn may have caused this flash flood. But they're still investigating the cause. And of course, the focus right now is obviously on search and rescue operations.
And how well equipped are the Nepalese, Azadeh, to deal with a disaster of this kind of scale? I mean, you mentioned it's getting dark and it's a bit of a race in terms of the time, but what about setting up even makeshift hospitals or dealing with people who may have been injured?
Well, districts downstreams have been put on high alert because the situation is still changing and evolving. There are many people in this area that will be living near riverbeds, and so it doesn't matter how prepared or equipped you are, you're still at risk, and so they're telling people to take precautions. They do have at least 17 helicopters that have been deployed, but again, you're fighting against the terrain and the weather conditions. The wind has meant that it's also very difficult for these helicopters to reach those who are most in need, and there is also significant infrastructure that is said to have been damaged. They believe hydropower stations may have been damaged. Workers may have been working there as well. There are a lot of trucks traveling goods that pass through the area that have drivers. Those are people who are unaccounted for. And so again, the scale of this is unknown right now, and we may know more in the coming hours or even days.
Azadeh, thank you so much. Azadeh Mashiri joining us there, our South Asia correspondent. We have some footage to show you. Now, it is quite distressing. I haven't yet seen it myself, but I just need to tell you that we understand some of this is distressing. It is CCTV footage from the region, and what you will see here is the moment that people attempted to flee seconds before that devastating mudslide engulfed the border crossing between China and Nepal. As you can see, there are so many people madly running away. They're desperate to try and escape before this completely gets smashed away. Now, we have edited this to take out some of the more distressing elements, but that just gives you a sense of how sudden it was for people there. Apparently there was no sense of warning, and you can just see how devastating that moment was from that CCTV footage. Let's take you live to Nepal, to Kathmandu, to the capital, to the BBC's Phanindra Dahal, who is there. That is pretty distressing, that footage that we've just seen. What sort of stories are starting to emerge from this area, Phanindra?
Details are yet to emerge of the scale of damage, but officials are anticipating this as one of the worst disasters since the 2015 earthquake. Several districts along the downstream from the Nepal-Tibet border have been impacted, and settlements just close to the Botekoshi riverbed, they have been washed away. Police officials have confirmed they have recovered 19 dead bodies, but we are hearing from different districts that people are registering complaints of their relatives missing in those areas. And critical infrastructures like hydropower stations have been washed away. Several trucks that carried cargo from Tibet through that route have been washed away, and drinking water supply, road supply, they have all seen severe damages. Officials are now racing against time on how to manage the flood-affected victims. The government has said it will provide temporary accommodation, food and drinking water, among others. And they have said that they are making a blueprint on how to address communities that are impacted by the flood.
And Phanindra, what is the latest from the tourism authorities about who might be missing, the foreign nationals as well? I mean, I appreciate you've just been saying many local people reporting concerns about their loved ones that they haven't been able to contact. But what about the tourists?
There are actually two kinds of pilgrims who are missing. Firstly, it is one of the main route that connects to Mansarovar, a popular tourist site in Tibet, and hundreds of people in this region choose this route to go to Tibet. And now another sacred Hindu festival of Janai Purnima was also approaching. This falls this week on Friday, and many local pilgrims also were traveling to Gosaikunda, one of the popular destinations. And it is also expected that some of the Indians or other Nepali nationals who were along those in the routes as religious pilgrims are among those missing. Officials have so far not been able to categorically tell about the status of rescue operations regarding those personnel.
So just tell us what we do know about the rescue operation at the moment and what the government is able to do, given the terrain is so difficult there as well, the damage that's been done to the infrastructure. And as Azadeh was just telling us, the weather's not good either.
Yeah, in the early morning, officials were saying that it was even difficult for them to find a place to land helicopters. But now they have managed and they have said they have rescued around 88 persons from different sites and brought few dozens to Kathmandu for medical treatment. Hundreds of people are still stranded. I just spoke with the spokesperson of the Nepal Army. He said military helicopters were dispatched to rescue nearly 115 stranded persons on a single village in Rasua district. Officials have urged private airline operators to allow the use of even private helicopters because they want to mobilize everything at the disposal of Nepal to conduct this rescue and relief operations. Officials are saying that nearly 1.5 dozen helicopters have been mobilized for rescue efforts, and apart from that, police personnel, soldiers and armed police force have also been dispatched from ground to search in the impacted areas.
Phanindra, very good to get that update from you. It's devastating what you're describing and what appears to be emerging in Nepal. Thank you so much. We'll be back with you throughout the day, of course. Let's bring in our global environment correspondent, Navan Singh Khadka, who knows this area incredibly well. And can I start with that? Just describe to us the terrain and this part of Nepal and Tibet that we're talking about.
So you see, this is like, imagine Tibet, the plateau, and the Himalayas, from where all these rivers snake through and then flow down into Nepal. And mind you, Nepal is where almost 60% of the Ganges, the Ganga river catchment, comes from during dry season. So imagine so many rivers. So this particular river we're talking about is also one of those tributaries, ultimately going down to the Ganges. Now, the thing is, it's not plain land. Ganges is in a plain land. This is all difficult terrain. You know, all those mountains, towering mountains, rocks and boulders and whatnot. And then now what we're seeing is all these different kind of disturbances. Again, like, you know, nobody is going to tell us what actually happened. I'm still trying to find out. There are conflicting claims. Xinhua, the Chinese news agency, has called it mudslide. Now, that is slightly, you know, we are still wondering what that means. But there are conflicting claims of what actually happened.
Can I just get you to back up on that? Why will there be these conflicting claims? Why might we not ever know what's actually happened here, Nathan?
First of all, you know, it's a very difficult terrain. You know, you don't know. It's very remote. All the mountains, towering mountains. So it's very difficult to assess because there are no boots on the ground. And B, what scientists, glaciologists, hydrologists are telling me, because of monsoon, the clouds are hovering around, so the satellite can't penetrate and show us. That is there. But even then, some of those glaciologists are telling me that it might be a case where rocks and ice avalanches went down, blocked the river, and that river got impounded, and then there was almost 50 meters of dam, you know, that got built. That was burst out. Now, again, that is just a theory. We still need to wait. Whereas still some others are saying it could be a case of Glacier Lake outburst flood. Last year, just quickly, around the same place, glacial lakes were involved. But the question is, we have no idea. The question, the most important question now is this being monitored? Is this being communicated? That is the big question now. Whenever things like this happen, these are the questions that come up.
When you mentioned last year, we should remind our viewers 18 people died after a glacier burst on the Chinese side of the border, right? That's what happened last year. So how much communication is there going to be right now between the Nepali government and officials and the Chinese?
So as of now, when I'm speaking to officials and even, you know, independent authorities, they are saying that they are not getting anything as such from the Chinese side, just very, very informally. And they are saying that it could be the case of ice and rock avalanche. It could be. Again, like, you know, it's very, very difficult to get. Like I said, the Chinese news agency has said mudslide and full stop. What that means, again, we are scratching our head what that means. But then again, in the wake of climate change, you know, all this accelerated melting of glaciers, mountains becoming weak and unstable, what the mountains unleash down there, this is becoming very important. Why? And not to forget quickly again, earthquake. Some are also associating this with an earthquake. We don't know for sure if it was earthquake, but there was an earthquake around 4.5 Richter scale at somewhere nearby area. Is that a trigger? Is it not? We're yet to know.
And just briefly, how has the monsoon been this year as well?
Well, monsoon has, to be honest, in some places it has been devastating, in some not. El Nino has yet to, you know, we are seeing that El Nino, because of El Nino, it's been less strong, less, you know, deficit rainfall in some places. But then again, like, you know, floods and landslides are regular phenomena. It's not been that devastating, but this one, what's happened, is definitely a big thing.
Okay. Thank you so much for that, Navan. Just all of that context is so interesting and so important, and I know you're making more calls and we're trying to establish exactly what has happened. Stay with us. We're going to bring you more on this story, of course, around the world and across the UK. This is BBC News.